know what they price.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of the Heavens Monsters podcast. I'm your boy SergDragon. With me always is
If you smell
Terrence, aka T-Money.
If you smell what the lion is cooking,
we're all out of sorts. We were just what were you saying?
I'm saying you know that when she come back, you know Alicia Fox, they're gonna give her the word that they're gonna fire her.
Ooh. Ladies and gentlemen, last video was supposed to be covering the October 14th of Monday Night Raw, as well as the October 16th of NXT, but we didn't do that in the last video. We covered the draft instead, and there was a lot to cover, literally 30 minutes. So if you want to hear who went to where and see our comments on that, I'll leave it in the links in descriptions down below. So check that out. Draft video is what we'll call it. In which case, let's do it right. We got the actual show starting off with the draft, in which case we saw Becky Lynch get the win for her brand against Charlotte Flair, who was supposed to be Alicia Fox. She got injured, blah, blah, blah. Go check the other video if you want, but you got the deal. In which case, Becky got the quick pin on Charlotte Flair after the distraction with Bayley. Ultimately, we would see Charlotte Flair no longer represented to SmackDown. She is being drafted to Raw, and Bayley is on SmackDown, so they won't see each other anymore. Next up, we have two representatives who are rising stars. We have Andrea versus Ali, and Andrea gets the win. Sadly, this rivalry won't continue because of the fact that Andrea, along with Zelina Vega, are being drafted to Raw, and Ali goes to SmackDown. Next up, an added twist, the Raw defending champions, Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode, ultimately lose their titles to the men who knew they were going to get it and were undefeated for that reason, both on NXT as well as Monday Night Raw. The Viking Raiders will stay on Monday Night Raw, being drafted on SmackDown, but now on Raw. How many times am I going to say SmackDown and Raw? It's the draft. What do you expect? The Viking Raiders are ready to raid and ready to conquer. Now as the Raw champions, tag team champions. After that, we would learn that Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode would be drafted to SmackDown, so they won't get their title rematch anytime soon or ever, to our knowledge. Because we don't even know if they'll stay as a team. They were drafted as a team, but we don't know if they'll stay. Your thoughts?
They probably won't, because that's what I heard. That's what I heard about Sheamus and Cesaro.
Courtesy of a pre and post draft, we would have Eric Young coming to Raw as well as Aleister Black. Those two would have a match before that information was brought up, but ultimately Aleister Black makes Eric Young fade to black. These two were on NXT at one point and they had an interesting rivalry, but because of the fact that Eric Young is not that dark figure no more, we're not going to see much. Besides Ricochet, Shelton Benjamin is also being drafted to Monday Night Raw, in which case these two had a match before that info of Shelton Benjamin, and Ricochet wins fantastically. So these two might end up having a rivalry now that Shelton Benjamin is on Monday Night Raw for sure. Next up, we have the contract signing for Crown Jewel coming Friday. Well, actually, yeah, I think Friday. Whenever is the last day of October, Halloween was on October 31st, will be a match between the Gypsy King, undefeated Titus Fury versus the Monster Among Men, Braun Strowman. This is going to be good because Braun Strowman showed him what's up. He broke the damn table with a Hulk smash. And all Titus Fury could do was break a pin, and he had a hard time with his giant ass fist just snapping the thing and making it gush. That was unsatisfying compared to what Braun Strowman did. Who do you side with? Who do you think is going to win? An outsider, Titus O'Neil, undefeated boxing champion, or the insider, his house, Braun Strowman? I'm going for Braun Strowman, man. I want him to get these hands and get wrecked. Yeah. You?
Braun.
Here you go. Turn it back on. Okay. I'm trying to do this fast because it's almost 9:30 and his ride's coming. Next, we have Buddy Murphy and Cedric Alexander. Both these two will be remaining on Raw, in which case these two had a match to prove where they stand in the future. Sadly to say, Cedric Alexander, I was hoping to win, Buddy Murphy proves wrong because these two had a heavy rivalry in 205 Live that ended at WrestleMania. In which case, Buddy Murphy lost his title to Cedric Alexander, but then lost it to, if I'm correct, Tony Nese. In which case, Cedric Alexander loses to Buddy Murphy in that fashion, and this is definitely giving rise to Buddy Murphy in a potential title picture. Next up, we have a women's tag team match between the Kabuki Warriors and Natalya and her pick of opponent. She was already drafted. The two of these women would already be drafted. Almost about to say, because they were drafted already to separate brands. But since it was going to be for one night only, they would, I guess, technically, they could be on two different brands and still be the women's champions. Natalya would ultimately choose a person to see butted head with and beat the living hell out of each other with. Lacey Evans would be her frenemy in this match for the women's tag team title. Ultimately, the Kabuki Warriors would get the win and retain their titles. And the tag team between Natalya and Lacey Evans didn't work out so well. They didn't fight each other, but these two would ultimately get jumped by already two people who would be mentioned that they're going to be on Raw. Now we know they're going to be drafted to SmackDown, I guess, after draft, you want to call it. Mm-hmm. Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross being once on Raw, but no more. They're going to be on SmackDown against the Raw tagged combatants and champions of women's championships. They're going to be interesting. It's going to be seeing if Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross can become two-time women's tag team champions and bring those two beautiful gold titles to SmackDown. Let's see. We would have some interesting conversation between AJ Styles and the OCs against the Street Profits and how AJ Styles thinks that the Street Profits are nothing up to the hype that they have been given. The Street Profits don't like that. They're looking for the OCs throughout the night and looking to have a match that proves otherwise. They didn't get this match yet. Yep, that would be it. After the debacle of the Hell in a Cell, Seth Rollins knows that this is no longer, they're not going to longer be. Is that the word?
No.
Debacle?
No. It said after the battle.
At Hell in a Cell, this interesting development between Seth Rollins and the Fiend, Bray Wyatt. Since they're going to separate brands, Raw for Seth Rollins as Universal Champion and The Fiend Bray Wyatt on SmackDown, this would be literally the last time we would see these two in the same area. But because of how it ended, Monday Night Raw, he said he was going to be fiend hunting because he's the King Slayer, the Beast Slayer, the Monster Slayer. So now he's going fiend hunting. He found Bray Wyatt. He jumped him, and you hear the recordings of all four of the puppets of Bray Wyatt's voice, and you're just hearing, no, don't do this, don't please, don't let it, all that over. No. You hear Bray Wyatt going, Seth! And you went from angry to pity. Why are you doing this to me? And he just beats him up again, knocks him out, supposedly, and he says, burn it down. All you see is Seth Rollins turn around, light a fuse, and burns the table, knocks it over, and burns the scenery. of the Firefly Funhouse. With them going to two different brands, is the feud between the Beast Slayer, the Architect, Seth Rollins, versus the Fiend, Bray Wyatt, over with?
Not yet.
No, man, I don't think it's done. I think they got one last match at Crown Jewel leading up to it.
I think that'll be the last feud, their last feud.
Next match after that, I think it's going to be Survivor Series. So, with that said, go ahead and look up 205 Live on 14th, 13th, 12th, October 11th. While he does that, I'll shout out to our boys Mike Henry, Xavier Hill, and Andre Mitchell. A link to their YouTube pages will be in the descriptions down below, as well as the podcast of me and T-Money doing the update on who got drafted to where and who didn't get drafted anywhere. Fun fact, Alicia Fox is forced to retire. Will she come back? We don't know. Also, another shout out to our boys Renee, Chris Petrie, Farrell, and Delvin, the remaining members of the Heavens Monsters podcast. Quick review.
That's it.
We have Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch for three nights, not in a row, but counting last time's 205 Live and then NXT and now 205 Live again. We would have the fact that Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch beat Drew Gulak and Tony Nese for a second time and the third win streak going so far. This is good for them. Drew Gulak, I didn't have this information before, but now I might as well mention it in this video. Drew Gulak is going to SmackDown Live. Tony Nese will most likely still be on 205. He's not mentioned in the draft at all. Next up, we would have a one-on-one match between Arya Daivari and Chris Bay, a new rising star who was on NXT and had a damn good match, but now he goes up against Arya Daivari on 205 Live, and Arya Daivari gets the win. We would have a street fight between two best friends, well, enemies, best friends, then enemies again. They're practically frenemies, let's call it that. We got the Brian Kendrick and Akira Tozawa. Unknowingly, this would be their last encounter, because Akira Tozawa would be drafted to Monday Night Raw the next following Monday. This being on Friday last week. In which case, Brian Kendrick won the match and ending the friendship between Akira Tozawa and himself. That's it for that. Go ahead and look up October 16th, NXT.
Come on, right, bro.
Okay, we'll be right back. Alright, everybody, this is going to be a speed run. Ah! Yeah, give us a sec. Ooh, I thought she was here. Let's go. She's on her way. His ride's on his way. Okay, we start the night with Tommaso Ciampa versus Angel Garza. Ultimately, Angel Garza doesn't win. Even though he has the pedigree, Tommaso Ciampa has the momentum going for him. Also, we have Undisputed Era trying to jump Tommaso Ciampa, but he loves the odds because he's got the crutch. His camouflage crutch ready to swing in that air. He doesn't care. Next, we have Imperium tag team between Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch. Sadly, their match at 205 Live had them on a 3-winning streak. Imperium cut them down short to cut their winning streak and get the win with their powerhouse tactics. The two Italians. Let me see if they're mentioned here. Yeah, here we go. What's their names?
Marcel, Bartel, Fabian.
Arkner. It sounds like Ch.
It's French.
Yeah. Next up, we have Oni Lorcan going up against Katie Carter and winning that match with the high flying. She would actually announce that she plans on fighting Bailey. I mean, not Bailey. Shayna Baszler, but mentions both Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair, saying that it's not going to be them, it's going to be her that fights Shayna. Ripley comes out to state, don't ever mention my name again. You do it again, I'll break you. She speaks in Japanese and rants, but just walks away. That's something that's going to be good. Also, we have Bianca Belair saying that she ain't going to let nobody get in front of her because she's got the one with the biggest beef with Shayna Baszler. And so Ripley wants to go around taking it. She's going to beat her and prove her to everyone that she's going to be. So I'm looking forward to this. I love this stuff. Keith Lee and Dominic Dozovic. Oh, quickly. First of all, thanks to Tommaso Ciampa getting almost jumped by the Undisputed Era, they leave a flash drive and it would be shown on the big monitor what the flash drive after commercial break, what would be on that file. It would be Undisputed Era, all 4 members jumping and laying out, left to injury, the Velveteen Dream, no longer going to defend, be the number 1 contender for that match because of the shame they did to him that he showcased on the big screen of him with his title and the sunglasses and no more title, and you got a big X mark where there's like little nothing there. They were very upset that Roderick Strong had to be showcased till they laid him out. Now left with no number 1 contender, general manager of NXT William Regal decided that the rubber match between Keith Lee and Dominic Dozovic, whoever wins would be the number 1 contender for that match next week. In this match, it was a dream match. These 2 laid it out. They just did everything. 2 big giant men, 1 heavy, 1 tall, acting like cruiserweights, doing all these impossible things, making people go nuts. Oh my God, that was top to bottom. And Roderick Strong had to ruin it because the match was going to literally could gone either way. Looked like it was going to go for Keith Lee to be the new champ, but we don't know what Dominic was going to do. Freaking Roderick Strong hits Dominic as well as Keith Lee with the North American title and ends the match in a non-contest. William Regal, furious, says that in next week, he's not going to be you. It's going to be you versus Keith Lee and Dominic Dozovic in a triple threat match. The Undisputed Era are all for Strong, yelling as freaking general manager William Regal walks right past them and leaves without uttering word. They're just like, damn it. Okay, here we go. Last bit. This match would be Pete Dunne versus Damian Priest. The match was pretty good until the match ends with Damian Priest, who could not put Pete Dunne away, hits him with a low blow where the ref didn't see, and then pins him 1, 2, 3. So that's it for the show, ladies and gentlemen. Disgusted on how the match ended. That's how it ended. I'm SergDragon. This is T-Money. We'll see you in the next video. You like this video? Give it a thumbs up. You didn't? Give it a thumbs down. Hit the subscribe button, like the content, and hit that notification bell for the next Heaven Monsters podcast. Peace out, y'all.
Bye.
Oh, P.S. It wasn't mentioned. We covered it, me and him. Matt Riddle had a match, won it, as well as Boa, the Chinese fighter, would actually demand from Rhea Regal a match with the Beast from Belfast, Killian Dane, and Killian Dane laid him out for the win. Boa did not get his redemption. He just got laid out. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for real. Peace out.